Hey, what's up guys, it's pewpew here. I've got some information for you guys on the current corrupted dungeon meta. Now, let me disclose, I don't really think that we have a settled meta yet. I think people are still trying to figure out what to play, because we're only a couple days now into the Rise of Avalon 4 patch. So at this point I think people are still figuring out what to play, and I don't think we have a set in stone kind of meta yet. But that said, what I've done so far for this video is I've taken a look into the builds of the top 35 players on the Infamy ladder board, and I noted down all of their builds, and I did a little research based off of that. Okay, so in this notepad file right here, this is all the builds that I got from the top 35 players, and I'm just gonna scroll down real quick so you can see them, and I'm gonna be scrolling down pretty quick. If you want to actually look at the individual builds, just pause the video or slow it down. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so that's the top 35 players. Now, some of them looks like they didn't play any corrupted dungeons since the patch, or maybe they played corrupted dungeons but they played a lot more or something else, and their kills from other things are filling up their kill board, so I couldn't get their corrupted dungeon builds down, right? And the ones that I did get their builds though, I would have their builds noted, and then their infamy below that. Okay, so this number down here is their infamy. Now, the players that have lost infamy since the patch have their infamy number looking like this, and the players that are currently at the highest peak of infamy ever have their numbers looking like this. Okay, so the players that have lost infamy, we can see how much infamy they have lost, but the players that have gained infamy, there's really no way for me to tell how much infamy that they have gained just by the information that's available from this ladder board. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind that the people that have gained infamy, we don't really know how much they gained by, so we don't know if they're gaining infamy by killing people, or if they're gaining infamy just by doing the PvE and running away from players, right? So I took down all the players that have gained infamy, and I transferred their information to this document right here, and you can see that the majority of them are running some kind of plate armor variant. There's, I think, 2 exceptions on this list. We have this guy right here running crossbow with a cultist robe and infernal shield build, and then we have this guy right here running a claymore build, and everybody else on this list is running some kind of plate armor build. One hand frost seems popular. There's some one hand mace and bloodletter. Now, as you all know, the bloodletter, or all daggers actually, just got their second Q nerfed, so it takes more energy now to cast that second Q skill. And because of that, you see these plate bloodletter players are switching their capes now from Theffer cape to Limper's cape to deal with that. You'll also see this change, by the way, on one-hand dagger players. Alright, so just to reiterate, the people on the left right here, you will see that a lot of them have lost infamy, but this is most likely because they were trying out different things. And, the patch just dropped, so, it's to be expected that a lot of people are going to be trying out different things and probably losing because they're trying out different things. Right, so this is a very good example right here, this guy right here. See he's been playing a few different builds, and then this guy right here has been playing a few different builds. So, if you're gonna do that, then obviously you're gonna lose a few matches before you figure out what's a good build, right? So that's to be expected. And also people on the right here, a lot of them are using the really safe plate armor builds, and it's also to be expected that they will gain infamy, because even if they can't win the fight, they can run away from one. So that way they can basically guarantee that they don't lose infamy, right? So even though they gain infamy, we don't know how much infamy they actually gained. Maybe they are just killing crystals and gaining infamy from PvE. We don't know, right? Now on the left list right here, there's a, oops, that's not the left list, this is the left list. Okay, so on the left list right here, there's a few builds or weapons that pop up a lot, and I'm gonna try to point those out. So the first number one most common thing is we're seeing a lot of swords. We're seeing a lot of claymores and broadswords, and the build they run is usually something like Tenacity Jacket and Cultist Cowl and Refreshing Sprint Boots and Theffer Cape. Alright, so the Helm of Valor, it has a cleanse effect for allies and a purge effect for enemies that are caught in the AoE that it casts. So what this means is that it counters Cultist Cowl, right? Because it cleanses you. And it counters things like cleric robes or mage robes or hunter hoods or things like that can be purged, like defensives that can be purged. So it's a flexible skill that can be used both to cleanse and to purge. It's a really strong skill that a lot of dagger players are using because there's a few things that people are trying, or that people were trying to kill daggers with, and some of them include like Cultist Cowls or double-bladed staff with the forceful swing W, right? So all of these things can be cleansed or purged off by the Helmet of Valor, and that's why this item is starting to see some popularity in corrupted dungeons. The most common way to build a claymore right now in corrupted dungeons is with Cultist Cowl and some kind of leather jacket for Infernal Shield. A lot of people use Tenacity because of the high IP that Avalonian items give you. But if you can't afford that, you can use any leather jackets. I would recommend Assassin Jacket or Spectre Jacket if that was the case, if you can afford the expensive ones. Assassin Jacket is good because it's cheap, and it gives you a bit more damage than the other leather jackets, like Mercenary Jacket, for example. Some people are burning gathering weapons or gathering gear into corrupted dungeons. I can see on this guy right here. He's using Harvester's Work Boots. This is a common one, which he's using regular run on it. I don't know why, but this is a skill that also has a cleanse on it, right? So it's another thing that you can use to get rid of Cultist Cowls. Alright, so for the dagger players in this meta, a lot of them are using Limher's Capes because of the nerf to the dagger Q. The dagger Q now costs the second Q, Deadly Swipe, now costs a lot of mana to use. So, you know, one-hand daggers, the way they play it correctly is they use a lot of resets, right? They will try to go in on you with a burst, burn all of your defensives, and then they will just run away from you, and then they will come back when your defensives are down. So if you're gonna play the game that way, then they have to spam a lot of Qs to open gaps and close gaps. So that kind of Q spamming just for mobility really hurts your mana now. So that's why a lot of people are using Limher's Cape to combat that. And Helm of Valor, I just talked about. You can see right here, dagger playing using it. We are also seeing this combo right here with the Tenacity Jacket and the Cultist Cowl on weapons other than claymores or swords in general. This guy, for example, is using it on a light crossbow. He's using the kite version with a knockback shot and the second Q, and he's doing pretty damn good with it, right? He's actually gained infamy. Yeah, he's actually gained infamy since the patch. Another weapon that are getting a little more attention now is the Frost, especially the Chill Howl, but the one-hand Frost as well. So this guy right here, for example, is a Frost player. Let's take a look at here. His build, right? So this is the kind of build that he plays in corrupted dungeons, and I personally don't really like this build because I feel like it's really glass cannon, but it looks like he's doing pretty good with it. And he's killing a lot of other like squishy players with it. I feel like this build has issues against plate armor builds. For example, like so you saw like all of his kills are against squishies, right? And then his death is this is not corrupted. This is not corrupted. His only one death in corrupted dungeons was against me actually, but I was running a full plate armor build, so I feel like that build might just have some issues against plate armor. Right, yeah, so like none of these deaths were from none of these other 4 deaths were from corrupted dungeons, and his only corrupted dungeon death was against the plate armor. Okay, so this right here is the more popular Frost build. I've seen this exact build pop up a couple times on that top 35 list, and like personally, I think this is a pretty strong build, but especially against the plate armored players, I think this is a pretty strong build. But for one reason or another, every single player that played this build on that top 35 list have lost infamy. Now, I don't know why they have lost infamy. Like, I don't know if they are affected by the nerfs, or if the other, or how do I put it, if the players that are playing other builds now are just harder to deal with for them than before, right? Because like I said, that build is good for killing plate armor, right? But now a lot of people that played plate armor before are switching off to other things, so maybe those players are harder to deal with now for these Frost players. Maybe that's the reason, I don't know. But the fact is, all of them have lost infamy that played this build, so just keep that in mind when you decide what to play. Okay, so this build right here, I see this build pop up a lot. It's Broadsword, Taproot, Cultist Cowl, and then Refreshing Sprint Boots, Theffer Cape, and the armor piece is either Cleric Cowl or some kind of leather armor for Infernal Shield. I haven't tried this exact build myself. I play something kind of similar to it with Claymore and Hunter Hood instead of Cultist Cowl, and it's a very strong build, and I think... So personally, I don't like the Cultist Cowl as much, because the damage on the Cultist Cowl can get reflected if you're facing someone that's running the exact same build but with a Hunter Hood instead, right? So that's why I run the Hunter Hood. But I mean, you know, it's just a preference thing. They do basically the same thing, Hunter Hood or Cultist Cowl. They make your enemy take damage when they try to hit you or when they try to do anything, right? So this is, you know, a solid build, and it's a build that pops up a lot, right? So pay attention to this build when you're trying to figure out what the meta is. Okay, so I think that basically covers it. Now, keep in mind that we are only like 1 day, or maybe like 1.5 days so far into the patch. At the time of the making of this video, we're only like, you know, less than 2 days into the patch. So the meta is definitely still like developing, and I would really like encourage you to just pay attention to the kind of builds that people are running on this infamy ladder board. And it's really easy to just like pop this up in the game. By the way, you just, you know, click this little thing right here, click on rankings, oops, right, click on rankings, and this drop list right here, go down to highest infamy, and you'll see all the top players right here, and then you can click on them and inspect their builds. You can see what they have killed, and you can see what they have died to on like this tab right here. You can see what they have died to, right? So pay attention to this this ranking list as we get like deeper into the patch. We'll probably see more and more people like conform into a meta, but like right now there's a lot of people trying different builds, and those weapons that I've talked, or those builds that I've talked about so far, are the ones that kind of pop up a lot for me. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and remember to like and sub for future videos. I will see you guys later.